Welcome back again. I have just received a super profound word that will shock you to the core. What you're going to hear is relative to this next decade and will be the hyper accelerated conceptual narrative you will individually manifest and play out in your life all 2021. The cycle that began 2012 2013 is concluding, and there's a very important understanding that many of you may either have been unconscious of or you felt intuitively but didn't have the full picture. Here's the full picture. I'm going to give you a story and an analogy. It doesn't have to apply this way specifically, so take it the way you will. This doesn't even have to resonate with everybody. So if you hear it and it doesn't make sense to you, this message is not for you. But if it is, I got you. Okay? The symphony of fate, destiny, and karma dictate the individual actions that lead you to where you are now. Nothing is random. It's why you're watching this right now. Watching someone who has the north node of destiny on their sun. You were meant to hear this message. You literally could have been doing anything. There's nothing in this life that's free. It's an economic principle called opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of you watching this video cost you an infinite number of things you could have been doing now. So, that being said, this story is that of the false anointing and redemption. You have a soulmate counterpart that 2012, 2013, whenever that cycle started, received a spark of activation. This spark of activation came from the God force, as there are roles: a masculine, feminine role, an activator, and a preserver. Okay, whether that person is a man or a woman depends on their archetype, right? But this individual was sparked to their max capacity. You could call it an awakening, and their mission was to be led to you to take that spark, because what they got sparked with was the double portion of their energy and your energy. They were meant to take your energy, as was their archetype, and activate you with it. Spirit from the get go, God from the get go, let that person know that you were their counterpart. And we could take away the whole twin label. In the context of this analogy, you were the other part of the equation to balance this out. Now, in the receiving and portion of this blessing, they may or may not have gotten too cocky. Because what this did was, with your extra portion of soul energy, they were having to channel more light than is usual or normal. And so they started feeling themselves. I think there was a bit of corruption that didn't start off as corruption, because nothing always starts off bad, but their own naivety allowed them to feel and believe that they can control aspects of this that was not their business controlling. What does that mean? Case in point, Spirit told them that they're meant to take that portion to you. While back at that period, you were still finding yourself. You were still developing. You were feeling that soul longing that was meant to come to you and spark. And they saw you in that glorified state and were like, nah, this person isn't my type. This person doesn't have my style. They turn me off. They were looking at you with superficial reasoning. Mind you, this glory they're gaining isn't necessarily all theirs. And so they let that get to their head. Okay. What they decided to do then was to look for people who fit their own superficial ideals of what they wanted. And they tried to, over the years, force and make it work with certain people, and we're wondering why it wasn't working. After all, they got the glory, right? And so they were brought again to you and had that opportunity to do what they were supposed to do the first time. But they let their ego get in the way. Why is this important? Not everyone let their ego get in the way. And that's why I say this message may not be for you. You may be someone who, if you're even this archetype, were told to actually, reach someone and did that. You humbled yourself and did that. And you're not going to be in this predicament. Cool. This individual did not. And so they were disgusted. They forgot that they didn't spark this power on their own accord, and they let their own ego think that they can be greater than God or whatever. And so, does this sound familiar? So some of you, this sound familiar. This sound familiar, don't it? And so they forced it and made it work with who, in their eyes, someone who also has clout, someone who's also shining, they could shine with. Cool. Let me break down the energy dynamics. The extra portion of your soul that they anointed that person with expanded and evolved them to the next level. But that energy, even though it evolved them and they shine brighter, that wasn't their energy. They're not compatible with it. And so think of it as a sword. They gave that sword is the essence of your spirit. It naturally responds to you. They gave it to somebody else who can wield it. They're really good at it. They're able to reach like 75 to 90% of potential. Sometimes they can get so close, but just like an asymptote, they're not at affinity, but they're so close, right? But it's not compatible with them. They tried to force it for their own egoic pleasures, worldly pleasures. And so it's still 90%, right? It's not like it's failed, but it's not at 100% because that person is not naturally compatible. It's not them. Remember that. Remember that. This is so very important because this person had visions. They know it's you. All right, let's get to the redemption part. Now, you unknowingly had to go through that whole cycle alone. And a lot of you felt and longed and felt something was off. You knew deep in your soul that you were meant to be working in this capacity. The facet of this is that both of you ground that energy and share infinity together so that you can ground this. Otherwise, you'd be out of this world. Well, you spent that cycle alone because you didn't have that other counterpart to develop. You did it on your own, and you're never truly alone. So you were blessed. You were helped. But this is why this is so important. Now that this cycle is over, okay, God right back then would have just, okay, you picked the wrong one. I told you to pick this one. You wanted to get in your ego? Cool. I'll just go hook this person up. But that's not how it works. Had to wait until the cycle ended. Cycle's over. Now that the new cycle is beginning, because what was supposed to happen didn't happen, the portion of that assignment, I don't want to say your counterpart, think of it as like an assignment. That assigned soul that you were meant to connect with, that portion that was theirs is now been transferred to activate you. There's a catch though. You and that person were meant to share infinity. That was why that person had to do it. Because if God just did it directly, you wouldn't have a counterpart to balance it. I hope this makes sense. So that person was meant to ground it so it could be whatever. Now, in this new cycle, God is just current, present, progressive, activating you with this infinite swagger. Taking that other counterpart's energy, okay? And what's the word? Divine inception or whatever, activating this in you. And so whereas you would have shared this with this person, now you're housing their energy and your energy. And I won't even say their energy, your energy, because it's a whole new energy. new construct, new cycle. And so you alone are harnessing the infinity because of the time you took to process this. And a lot of you had a great attitude. You didn't let this get you down. You still moved forward. And so the work that you did has prepared you to take this like a champ. Now you're awakening into this infinite energy, and you're going to meet another counterpart who also has their own infinite energy. Here's the difference: it's not one infinity, it's one infinity and another infinity. I hope that makes sense. Now, here's the catch: because both of you are infinities in within each other, instead of two people being infinity together, you both are too high vibrational to last and stay in this dimension. So you're still going to be here in 3D, but 75% of your life is going to be harnessing this infinite supernatural potential to explore other universes, to astral project, to go out. You can literally live like, you can travel 75 million light years, live thousands and thousands of years, come back in a second like it was nothing. And so people interacting you with 3D won't even realize you have this crazy stuff. And to anyone else, this is gonna sound crazy. This is gonna sound, if this doesn't sound super crazy to you, then I'm not saying it right. This is crazy shit. However, a lot of you may have wanted this, by the way, right? It sounds crazy, but there's a reason to 3D. You came here to live a human life. You didn't come here to do all this extra shit, right? But because of that person's karmic decisions, this is the only way. It wasn't about the egoic reasons this person wanted. Now the person that once this happens, they're going to look at you and see, oh, this is why you were the one that God chose. And they're going to live regretting the decision they made, because now they'll see. Since they didn't walk by faith, they wanted to see and believe, right? And they looked at you and like, you don't look the part. And they looked at someone else. Well, they're going to see what they missed. That person they're with may not even stay with them because that's not their person. And so they're going to inevitably go to who their person is. So keep that in mind. Or they may stay with that person, but they're gonna realize, wow, I could have been with someone who was 100% instead of just 90. And that is nothing wrong with that person, but that just wasn't that person's destiny, if that makes sense. It wasn't that person's natural energy. So you're gonna link with someone else who, like you, also has full 100% infinity. I wish I could say that better, but your experience here, everything that you're gonna see this in 2021 hyper accelerate. And so you're gonna go like within the mid 2021, your life's not even gonna be recognizable, and you're going to be experiencing things that you've only seen in sci-fi. So keep that in mind. This is a message for y'all who have really been feeling that deep longing, and the dynamics of this is going to change drastically, especially with the archetype, because once again, that person made their free will decision within the context of predeterminism. And this is where free will can complicate things. So for those of you who had to go through this cycle alone, or dealing with this, which isn't really a bad thing, it's just an opportunity cost, just know you're about to get hit with the ultra infinite God activation. Because instead of being activated by this human form grounded being, God is just going to directly activate you. You're going to have a supernatural experience, and there's a reason why they had to ground it, so that it's not crazy as hell, and you won't, have to sacrifice living in this mortal realm. Even though after that happened, your path got rerouted and trained so that you can get used to that. And most of you want this anyway, okay? So I hope you enjoy this. This doesn't have to apply romantically, but I use that context for some of you it will. And comment below what you think. This is so exciting. Like the only catch is the human existence you were meant to live, it got rerouted. And I know some of you are going to be like, I didn't want the human existence, but trust me, you did. That's why you're here. But it's all good. This is just kind of shifting gears more cosmically, and you still will have the human existence. It'll just be a literal quarter of your time here. Other 3 quarters will be in other dimensions. Peace.